And now for a taste of things to come.
Stan the Survival Man here. You know, when you live in a house that looks like an armory and is decorated with weaponry, people come over to my house and they always ask the same question. Stan, if a violent armed intruder broke into your house, which weapon would you use? And I reply, why a spoon? Because it'll hurt more. Kidding aside, if you don't happen to have your favorite weapon around to defend yourself, like your favorite cold steel knife or your pistol, you must rely on weapons of opportunity. Weapons of opportunity are weapons that just happen to be laying around. Now you've seen in the movies when people panic because there's an intruder coming, they grab a kitchen drawer, open it up, and they grab a knife. Now these are great weapons if you know how to use them. 70% of people who try to defend themselves with a knife end up with a knife sticking out of their own body. So make sure you get the proper training. So weapons of opportunity. Weapons of opportunity are any kind of weapon that you can grasp that are around you in your surroundings. Now if you don't happen to have your knife, your gun, your bazooka, or explosives to defend yourself, sometimes you've got to grab what is available and use that. Now if some assailant is attacking you, everything that's not bolted down should be flying in that person's direction as you set up your defense or attack. So I'm going to share with you some ideas of weapons of opportunity that you have everywhere, no matter where you go, if you don't have your regular weapons. I wasn't kidding about spoons. Spoons make a great weapon. Place the ladle into the palm of your hand, interlock your fingers over it like that, bend it slightly, and there you go. A great formidable weapon for jabbing people's skulls in. Coffee mugs. Not only for holding coffee, but discharging hot beverages at your assailant. Or, same thing, brass knuckles. Grasp it in your palm, strike with this way. If this breaks, that's fine. Now you've got some sharp, jagged edges to gouge them with. Or you can take two mugs, bang them together, and get jagged edges around here. It doesn't work on plastic mugs, of course, but glass and ceramic, they'll chip nicely, make sharp edges. Then you palm it and strike like a can opener or a cookie cutter for people's skulls. Pens are good, but don't palm them the same way you would a spoon, because the same amount of energy you jab with is the same amount of energy coming back, and that can hurt your palm. So it's best to hold a pen like so, or like so. Of course, paperweights work good. This paperweight just happens to fit my knuckles perfectly. You can strike with this. So paperweights are good. If you don't happen to have a paperweight, but you have a carabiner hooked on your backpack, they can do the same thing. Belts are excellent weapons. They'll let you on a plane with a belt. They'll let you pretty much anywhere with a belt. And they're great striking weapons, great defensive weapons. If they have a box cutter or a stick, you can loop it over your shoulder, strike diagonally downward, and as you catch their hand, cross and pull. It's a great way to rip knives and box cutters right out of people's hands. Or you can use the old Western lasso maneuver with a belt buckle out here. The bigger the belt buckle, the more damage. Get one of those big rodeo cowboy king ones, you know, that's about like that big, like the size of a garbage can lid. That's a good belt buckle. Now also you have the typical fire extinguisher. These are not only good clubs, but it's poor man's mace. Discharge it and you rob them of their oxygen, get it in their eyes, and it causes a big mess. Good for getting away. Now, of course, you've probably seen people use their keys, and they interlace each key in between each knuckle, like so. This is all right, but the problem is, as you hit something, those keys can dig down into your hand and can hurt. So it's best to use one key. A modern, big, fat key like this fits right in your palm, just like the spoon, and there's a formidable weapon. You've always seen bottles being used as weapons in the movies, but there's an art to breaking bottles properly. Gripping it by the neck, you've always seen people just break it, and then they have this perfectly sharp, jagged weapon in their hand. Well, there's an art to doing it. If you slam it like this, it'll break too much. If you hit it too hard, it'll shatter all the way up into the hand, and all you have is a little stub. So there's an art to it. You've either got to strike it right there on the very sharp edge of counter or a bar and downward so it pops the top off. Or if you happen to have a tube or a piece of pipe or some smaller object, you can strike against that. Well, there you go. Close. That one shattered a little bit too much, but you get the idea. Very formidable weapon. So when you're thinking about it, anything can be made into a weapon in an emergency. So think about a license plate, for example. Grab it here on the end, crease it just a little bit, like that, and then just roll it around your fist. Hulk hands. That can work. How's that? Oh, you really want to get fancy, just curve it all around. Yeah, there you go. There's a puncher for you. Now, if you happen to have a good German Shepherd or other suitable dog, they can be a form of weapon. Defensive, offensive, good guard dog. But if you don't happen to have a worthwhile dog like this, go on. Get a worthwhile leash. I like the chain leashes because they make very formidable weapons on their own. Leash, weapon. And of course there's sticks. Sticks can be found everywhere. They're in every home, they're in janitor's closets, schools, airports, warehouses. Go into a closet, take off the broom or mop handle, and you have a very formidable weapon. But learn how to use one, because they can be very handy in an altercation. Some sticks have magical powers. None shall pass! If you don't happen to have a stick, you can make one out of a magazine. Yes, one of my fellow officers actually went into a riot situation with nothing more than a rolled up magazine. He dropped 3 guys. Let me show you how you make one. First, you've got to start with a very manly magazine, like Soldier Fortune, or 4-wheeler magazine, very manly. Start with the loose leaf end and roll it very tight. Now you've got a weapon with a lot of ability to puncture things. You could strike, but not much there. It's more of a thrusting weapon. Let me show you. Formidable. Formidable. So no matter what you're doing or where you are, be cognizant of what weapons of opportunity are around you that you can use in an emergency. You may not always be packing your gun or knife, so you've got to be ready for those contingency events. Death by teabag. What's up?